So, did you ever think about going from an independent brokerage to something more scalable, a modern team where you don't have any limits? Well, Harley Dufek's here to share with us today how he did it. So hang on, we'll be right back. Hey, Harley.
Hey,
So where are you? I forgot to ask you that.
I'm in the state of Virginia, Northern Virginia, and Fairfax, which is
Okay.
if people don't know the DC area, so the DMV
Okay.
they call it.
The,
So
the,
DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and the market center there is roughly 7 million people.
oh,
Um,
that's nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm licensed in all three states. A lot of agents in this area are. They're pretty
Okay.
close together in the nation's capital. So it's an interesting place to be
In the DMV. Well,
in the
that sounds
DMV.
like an interesting place to be. So we chatted a little bit, and you've got such an interesting story, and I think it will benefit a lot of people. So you were an independent boutique brokerage
Right.
with a number of agents there working for you, and you did that for a period of several years, and then kind of had an epiphany and awakening and discovering. So tell me, what's it like to be an independent broker? I mean, what are the pluses and minuses of the whole thing?
Well, I'm from Alaska. I was born and raised in Alaska, and so and I just say that because it's pretty common for people in Alaska to be pretty independent and just just kind of pioneers, right? And
Uh-huh.
so that's me. I was always very like, hey, I can just do it myself. Just let me do it. And so that's really, I think, where uh, I essentially had been independent my entire career. I mean, aside from the first year in Remax, and then I was at
Right.
a really small firm from there. But yeah, I basically got in as soon as humanly possible
So you
into
wanted
my
to
own
do your
brokerage.
own thing and be
I just
your
wanted to
own
do my own
boss
thing.
and don't
Yep.
nobody tell you nothing. Okay.
Right. Because I had it all figured out. Right. And we did pretty good job. We had a lot of fun. So there was that.
Uh,
I was in charge, so to speak. I had partners, but we all did a really, you know, had a lot of fun and just did well and worked hard and played hard. Now with that though, there's certainly some challenges. Uh, one of them was uh, we didn't really have like an agent attrition problem, and especially just amongst our group, nationally that we corresponded with. Some people really did. We never really did historically, but there was one that happened to me that was kind of surprised out of left field where my business partner at the time, Chris, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Harley, guess what? So we paid Jason $350,000 last year as a buyer agent." I'm like, "Wow, that's fantastic." That boy, that's a lot of money for a buyer's agent. And like, does that mean that we made 350,000? He's like, "Oh yeah." But here's the thing, he's leaving and he's going to Remax. I'm like, "Well, I mean, why? I mean, can we get him back? So we went to this whole thing. And then of course, when you have one of your top guys leave, it's sometimes it really hurts the whole team mentality too, when you're having kind of a smaller shop and, it's, everybody's really tight. Right. So
and
that,
he was
that was
new when he
painful.
came with you, right? So he was a new agent, and
Brand
you
new.
brought him
Yeah.
up, you trained him up, you got him up to where he's grossing big numbers, and
Yeah.
then he says like, "See ya, see ya,
Then,
see
then
ya."
he's then he's out. Yeah, I'd never seen anything like it. And he's amazing agent, right? Took notes. Yeah, I mean, just verbatim did everything we said to do, right? And
Right.
just really, really just took it to heart and did an excellent job. And God bless him. He just saw where he needed to be at, and I just couldn't offer him anything more, or any. There's just no stickiness with what I had. We
Right.
didn't have any kind of any kind of like retirement or long-term stuff, and this is pretty common on teams. I mean, it was a brokerage, but it was a team concept, right?
Yeah.
So it was all
Well,
kind of
yeah,
its
sure,
own
but
team.
sure, there was stickiness to it. I mean, you were on the hook for the lease, you were
Yeah,
on for your space
yeah.
lease, you were on the hook for your printer lease, you were on the hook for making sure you had employees to do this and that and the other thing. You were on the hook for, the buck stops here, ultimate liability. You got all that fun stuff as an independent broker. I've been one myself.
Oh yeah, it was not small. It was about a $70,000 a month nut. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, yeah, that we paid. Yeah, I mean, we're doing okay, right? But we had to make it every month. And that can be a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure because there's just a lot of overhead and just
Yeah.
how we were running it. It was really more much more traditional kind of brick and mortar. I had a couple offices, one main one, just kind of like a more of a satellite one, but
Yeah.
it was, there's just a lot of overhead, a lot of advertising and just different things, right?
Well,
Employees
and
and stuff.
then didn't you have some coaching overhead as well?
Yeah, we had coaching overhead. So we were in this group called NAEA, National Association of Expert Advisors, since the inception of that actually, and paying $2,000 a month just to
A
be in
piece,
it.
right? 2 grand each.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, 2,000 for no, just for I mean our group, I guess. So
Okay.
that was just me and my partner.
Okay.
Were really the beneficiaries of that, but and then we were able to have the information go out to anybody that worked for us, right? So that was
Hmm.
sort of how it worked. But that was at the mastermind level. And so yeah, and not to mention, I mean, I had an amazing team, I gotta say. My TC just kept everything in line so well. I mean, I was audited by the state, which is pretty common for an independent broker. And all my books were just so stellar and just in line. But however, they may not have been, right. And we were, a lot of times we had complaints, against us too, that we'd have to kind of ward off. Either it was, somebody thought something wrong or this or that happened. There's just, all the liability for anybody that worked for any single agent out there all came back to me,
Right.
and back to the company level. So that was something that it was just part of a daily that we had to deal with.
Were you personally producing then too?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh,
just personally producing and more or less like, the kind of the face of the company in the marketing, and just did listings. Was that was my happy place with it.
well, I would imagine that those other duties, responsibilities, problems, etc., cut into your personal production.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It certainly is a distraction when, and it gave me some pause at some point to think about like, hey, what business am I really in here? Because I'm not necessarily getting paid to be this broker, even though I did value my independence and all that good stuff. But it just really was, you know, yeah, like I don't know here, moving forward. Because and although we really stayed out of hot water, there was times where, we had to defend ourselves against different things. Nothing stuck, we didn't really do anything wrong, kept everything really above board, and it was great. But it's a highly it can be litigious area, and there's really easy for anybody to mess up at any time. And the more you scale, the
Mhm.
just the more opportunities for that to happen.
And I've spoken with a lot of independent brokers, and I'm going to talk about maybe the smaller scale of stuff. And when you really peel back the expenses of the company and your own personal production, it is not uncommon to find that some of your personal production expense is going toward the company. So you get the
Yeah.
treat of dealing with all those deals and having your name on the hook for all this stuff, and sometimes it's a part of your personal production that's going into the income of the company to keep it afloat. So, and
Hmm.
especially now we're into the market shifting a little bit. So as production goes down, you have all the other agents' productions going down. one thing is going to happen is they're going to blame you as the broker because that's just what happens. The other thing is the income goes down, and now you really got a double whammy going as an independent broker.
Yeah, that's right. You really have to play the red light, green light game with the expenses and be able
Mm-hmm.
to forecast stuff quite heavily because as you know in real estate, I mean, there's a big lag between what might come in and what you have out. Although the expenses are
Pretty
pretty
consistent.
consistent.
Yeah.
So
Well, so now we all know you're with EXP, right?
yes, yep,
So talk to me about the thought process there and why you decided to make that change. So, I know that with EXP, you're still your same independent guy and you can do that. I think another nice thing, I don't know about where you are, you mentioned that you had licenses in 3 states.
yeah,
And there are many brokerages that if you're going to be each state you're licensed in, one of the biggest I know for a fact is each state you're licensed in, you have to pay money to each, you have to pay money to each of 3 market centers in that case. And
that's
so
right.
it's a challenge. I'm in Northern Nevada, so we have Nevada and California, and it's great to be licensed in both, but it was cost prohibitive before. Now, under the EXP umbrella, you can be licensed in wherever you want to be licensed, and it's all under one brokerage umbrella. So I'm guessing you saw that as a benefit. What else enticed you?
Yeah, I mean that is actually a pretty big benefit, and for my just a bigger vision. I mean, in our industry, it's not uncommon for referrals to be passed around intrastate or even now even internationally too,
Mm-hmm.
and EXPs in multiple countries in every state, and it's one broker, so there's just one cap, one fee for that. So one, if they have the appetite for it, can really expand their business, and that's a lot what I'm looking at as building out more of a much more modern system here,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of that middle bloat, so to speak, of that $70,000 a month nut is just not going to be there, and it's more of a system just based upon production revenue and leads and having it really streamlined that way. Not to mention too, just a lot of the expenses have really been cut down. For instance, that $2,000 a month went away because now that's all
It's
in the
all
spirit
free.
of collaboration.
You get the whole NAEA system for free.
Yeah, get the whole NA
Exactly.
system. I mean, something I paid, for 5 years straight, right?
Yeah.
Two grand a
So wait,
month,
that's
you know?
24 times 5. You're well over 100,000 in
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, well
And
over
now,
6 figures in, and
yeah,
for me, it's just it's a real blessing, and to be able to see everybody in it. We went from like, oh gosh, our group was, I'd say maybe 20 or 30, around the nation at that time, and now Honey Badgers is well and exceeding of that. I think it
right.
was what is the number? I think it's around 12,000 or something
I'm not
people in
I'm
it
not
now.
sure. I know
So
there's a bunch of us. I mean, we've got
a lot,
85,000 agents in EXP, and something people may not know, but it's who you're in business with matters. So
right?
we're all related to each other in a sense, in that we're in the honey badger sort of division of it, and there's a ton of benefits that accrue by being a honey badger.
Yeah, and just the collective knowledge too, and some of the people that you can get connected with, and if you're stuck or if you're trying to do something, what's good for you is good for them and good for the company. Flows back to you, and that's really the mentality of this whole group. Whereas in pretty much any other brokerage company that you're in, it's just every person for themselves, and you're just in competition with the next person there. So it's just different, and the math works too. I mean, for a mere just a smidgen of money, I mean, I can hire a national and international broker. I mean, come on, and then
Well,
you
you
do
talked
enough
about
production, you get it
bloat.
all back.
Yeah, and you mentioned bloat in your business, and I think that's one of the things that EXP has really done to address is bloat in the brokerage,
Yep.
and that's why they're able to be so generous with the compensation. The three ways we can get compensated is because they've eliminated the middleman, so to speak. A lot of that bloat is gone.
That's right.
You
That's right.
so you also mentioned something to me that I think is very exciting. Scalability, because
Right.
being your Alaskan independent self, right? You want to be able to have an unlimited opportunity. So, what are your thoughts about scalability?
So when I went from Seattle to DC, I made the move, right? Boy,
A big move.
don't recommend it to the average agent to do that. I thought it'd be no problem for me, but even as well set up as I was, it was very difficult for me,
Yeah.
extremely culturally wise, and it's and that's not really what this call is about, but just that as a point, I've done that, and it can be extremely painful. So as far as scalability goes, and how one can do that, I wanted to have location independence, number one,
Right.
for me. So you can legitimately do that in EXP if you so choose to do it that way. I mean, as a realtor and as an agent, a lot of agents, they're just kind of locked into their local market area. Well, I didn't want to be that way, anymore. And so being able to set up, basically virtual shops all over the place is super appealing to me.
Yeah, and I moved from West Palm Beach, Florida to Reno, so I hear your brother on the pain involved with that. But so, like, if you wanted to have a team or have what we call it a modern team now
Yeah.
in Seattle, you could easily do that. Or the
Right.
people that you sponsor into EXP now become, your responsibility for their success, and that person could be anywhere in the country or the globe pretty much now. So
That's right.
you have no geographic boundaries.
Yeah, that's correct, and it just keeps going, and this type of model is now super proven, and we even see a lot of other businesses in different verticals copying the same sort of model just
Mm-hmm.
because it works. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really it's a very foundational thing,
Mm-hmm. Yep, sincerest form of flattery.
right?
Yeah, good. Well, what's your favorite thing about being with EXP now?
I really enjoy the just the overall attitude and collaboration of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been that way, and felt like I learned the most and grew the most through the various groups I had been in, just in my career, in being able to learn from like really top end agents. I just was super blessed. But again, a lot of these groups, were monetarily, like, I mean, the compensation you had to pay. Like I was in one group. It was a radio and television experts rate, which I met some amazing agents at. Learned so much at. I was also spending $18,000 a month, right? Being
Eighteen
in that.
thousand a month. Oh, that
Yeah.
includes your ad spend.
Well, right, for being on the radio. Now that doesn't mean that's what rate costs. I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
that was our ad spend for being in on radio, TV, and that was just our personal spend.
Yeah.
However, to be in the group, you need to be advertising on that and be in that to have access. And part of the
Gotcha.
benefit of that group
Gotcha.
is to be able to collaborate with agents, selling homes and running teams at really high levels. So that collaboration to me was super valuable. Well, we get a lot of that, and one can do that just in the EXP model alone. I mean, and
Right.
you don't have to be in these really expensive groups. I mean, you still can be, but you have access to a lot of the same folks that are in this right now too. So that, to
Well,
me, that's a big
example
deal.
of getting your NAEA as part of, the a benefit of being a honey badger. People talk about culture at,
Right.
whatever brokerage you might be with, and culture is a very important thing. And the I'm just thrilled to have discovered that the culture at EXP is collaboration, and it never ceases to blow my mind how willing others are to open their playbook, or just, maybe you see them. We have a thing called Workplace. You see them on Workplace and say, hey, would you mind sending me that system? And they're like, sure. Whoop, there it is. Just
Yep.
like, that's it. You're just giving it to me. Yeah, here.
Well, and then we're all owners in it too. So from the independent standpoint, I still feel like, hey, I have a piece of ownership of this, as we all do, and that that feels pretty good, and especially just how the leadership is running it, and some of the things that we have. We bought Success Magazine. We have that. We have some new systems and technology that we're bringing on that are real proprietary and really nice.
Mhm.
So I just like the direction that they're going, and I like how they're running the financials, and just
Yep.
what they, just kind of the root level stuff that they're doing, and some of the, and I'm just so blessed because some of the people in the company that are amongst the top recruiters and agents and leaders in it are some close personal friends of mine and people I just kind of grew up in the business with. And so
Yeah.
it's really fun to see, and I'm just so happy to see them thrive and just be in this with us.
Well, Harley, so I have on this, my email address is right here on the screen, and I can put our contact information in the show notes. But if anybody's interested in getting in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do it?
So this at Harley Dufek, you can
Uh-huh.
get me on pretty much any social
Okay.
with that. That's probably the best way.
All right. Well, hit us up. There's more to come. It's Harley. Thanks so much for your time. I really,
Of
really
course.
appreciate your spending a part of your day with us. And let's do it again sometime. Okay.
Oh, we'll do. Thanks, Kathy. Yeah,
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Harley.
All
All
right.
righty. See you later.
Bye.